Hi guys, and welcome to another Wargame Red Dragon video with me, Bubblebox, and today I'm going to show you my USA deck that I made, and in the next sort of day or so I'll post a couple of games playing with this deck, and I'll link back to this deck in those videos if you want to have a look at this deck. So first of all, the logistics. Well, I've got a fob, of course. The fob's needed nowadays because of the increased use of artillery and the increased effectiveness of artillery in this game. Now, to supply my units from the fob, I've taken a CH-53. You can either take a CH-53 or you can take a Super Chinook. I've taken the CH-53. You only get I think 3 of these guys, is it? I think you get 4 Super Chinooks, yeah, and you only get 3 CH-3s. It involves a little bit less microing, I suppose, and they have a massive fuel capacity of 3,700, and you can use your trucks to take the stuff to the front line. Now, as far as my truck's concerned, I've decided to take the Hempt over and above the cargo truck. The reason being, the Hempt has a strength of 10 and can probably take a nearby artillery shell landing near it and still survive the impact. It's also faster than the cargoes off-road, although the road speed is similar. It's got a massive fuel capacity of 2,400, so you don't really want to get these, lose these, but like I say, they have got a strength of 10. So we're going to get 3 of these, I think 3 of these Hempts, so you've got to be quite careful with them. So you can see that my supply strategy is not too many supply vehicles with big fuel capacities, so I've got to be quite careful when using them. Now, as far as commands are concerned, I've taken these TACOM, T-A-C-O-M, not sure what that means, but TACOM Infantry HQ squads. I've taken them in the Hueys. I'm not expecting to put them into big danger. The Hueys are fast enough at 225, I think. I was tempted for the Black Hawks because the Black Hawks have got a strength of 6 and can take an anti-air missile at them. But I'll stick with the Hueys. I think I'll stick with the Hueys just for this one. 10 points less. You have to bring them in at the start of the game, so you want a few points in reserve near the start of the game. So that's those. Now, unusually as well, I've also got a big Abrams command tank. Why? Because it's an American deck, basically. I don't normally take command tanks because I play Total Destruction rather than Conquest quite a lot. But it's an American deck, isn't it? And if it's an American deck, you've got to get the biggest and the best, I suppose. So, and the most expensive, of course. So I've gone for this. My American deck is composed of expensive units, so I've got to be really careful with them, I think. So I'm taking the command tank anyway. I could have taken armoured trucks, so they're all standard armoured trucks, or even a Jeep. You get 7 of these guys, so it doesn't really matter too much if you lose one. You can just bring another one in. There's Humvees and Lavs. There's a nice Lav there, although it hasn't got an autocannon, unfortunately, just a machine gun. And there is the old command chopper, which is to my mind completely obsolete now. Now, onto the infantry. Now, the Americans have got a really nice selection of infantry, and they've got an infantry squad for every eventuality. Now, I've gone for Mountaineers. Now, I've gone for these because they're sort of all-rounders. You can fight infantry with these, you can fight tanks with these, you can fight armoured cars with these, you can have a go at helicopters if you can get close enough. The only thing they can't defend against is aeroplanes. Now, there is another unit which is quite similar to these, and this is the light riflemen, if I can find them here. So you can see there, light riflemen are 5 points more. They have a slightly better M74 Super Dragon, whereas the Mountaineers just have the standard M74 Dragon 2. And that means that basically the light rifleman's weapon is slightly longer range and a better accuracy, and the Mountaineers slightly less range, and actually it's the same accuracy. The AP power is slightly better with the light rifleman. The other weapons are pretty much the same, although the light riflemen do have a better fire rate with their M240, so will be slightly better against infantry. However, the Mountaineers have a strength of 15, and the strength of the light rifleman is only 10. So the Mountaineers can take more punishment, for example, in town battles and that. So that's why I've taken the Mountaineers, mainly because of the strength of 15. And if they survive the battle, I can use my logistics to resupply them and get them moving forward again. Whereas if the light infantry go below 10 points, then they're going to get destroyed. So that's my logic. I could just as easily have taken the light rifleman basically, but I've gone for these. I've brought them in Chinooks with the minigun to help take down any infantry that they might come across. And I've got 2 packs of them. I suppose I could have got a pack of light infantry and a pack of mountaineers, but I've got a pack of each. Sorry, 2 packs of mountaineers, and I've got 36 of them, so I shouldn't run out of infantry in the games if I'm careful. Now I've also got some lad stingers. Again, good selection of man pads for the Americans, but I just go for the most expensive ones, the lad stingers. The most expensive ones, because why are they expensive? Well, because they've got the best range against helicopters of 2275. They can also shoot down helicopters and a very good accuracy of 70%, so most of their missiles are going to hit. 80 power of 5, can't really defend themselves very well. They're only a 2-unit squad, so keep them out of harm's way. And I'm bringing them in Hueys with just the standard machine gun. Not too useful, but at least they're fairly, will bring them into the position in which you want them. Now I've also got some assault engineers. Now I've always liked these. These are really good in forests and to support infantry in towns. They've got a nice napalm launcher. And basically they'll burn the trees around opposing infantry, and they're especially good if you have some other infantry with them that can fire their weapons whilst the assault engineers keep the enemy suppressed and stunned. And I've got the US Marines for this action. Very, very good. They're shock troops. This is actually a new stat down here. So there's shock, which is one from the top, which means that they do more damage with their given weapons than a lesser troop. And you can see the fire rate's very high, very, very good against standard infantry, against all other infantry. The only ones to oppose these guys really are the Spetsnaz, maybe some of the SAS and Special Force units. So that's it really, Mountaineers, Stingers, Engineers and Marines. On to support. Yeah, I had to get the M4A3 Chaparrals, of course. Really, really long range of 3,325 against helicopters, and now they've got 12 missiles as well, so they're not going to run out of supply too quickly. And they've also got a decent range against aeroplanes and a nice accuracy of 50%. So a couple of those hit a chopper, it's going to go down, and maybe 2 or 3 of those hit an aeroplane and it's going to go down as well. So if you put these in a pair, you should take down most things if they can get a couple of shots off. I've also got the standard M4A1, a little bit cheaper. Have got 12 missiles now. Again, still a good range against choppers and a decent range against aircraft as well. Slightly less accuracy, but they're a bit cheaper. So I've got a pack of them as well. And to complement them, I got some Pivads with the Vulcan minigun. Decent against choppers to send up at the start. They're quite cheap, only 40, and you can send them up at the beginning of a game just to make any choppers back off from your ground units. Very, very high rate of fire. Now, artillery wise, these are really nice. These look really nice. These M110s. These have got a nice tight dispersion, decent range, and a very high HE power. Can be used for picking off infantry in buildings, CVs, lightly armoured vehicles, and anti-air as well. Really nice weapon. Not got a lot of ammo, only 2, so you're going to need it next to a fob or with a supply chopper sitting next to it to keep it supplied if you want to keep picking off units once you've reconned them. I've also got the MLRS. The MLRS got these. Why? Because they've got AP power, of course. They have got armor piercing shells which they fire, or rockets which they fire as cluster bomb type effect. Dispersion is very tight, so these are for targeting, actually targeting tanks, I reckon. Not too long a range, but okay. You're still going to be well out of the way. They cost 120, so they're not cheap. They only fire 2 shots at a time, so again, they're going to need constant resupply. But they look like an awesome unit to try out with this AP power of 20 to try and snipe out tanks at a long distance. So that's my support in this deck. Next, the tanks. Of course, we have to have the M1A2 Abrams We've got to have this. It's a prototype and it's a new unit and it looks fantastic, and indeed it is fantastic, and it comes at a fantastic price of 180. It's got a main gun with the maximum range for NATO, accuracy very very good, AP power excellent, and really nice armor as well. Fantastic tank, keep it safe. I've got 2 of those guys. I've also got the M1 A1HA Abrams, similar to the last tank. The stats slightly downgraded, but not a great deal. And then I've got the good old M1 A1 Abrams, the old favourite, 135 points. Again, similar to the last tanks, but everything downgraded a little bit. But the guns on all these Abrams are still fantastic. It's just the armour gets a little bit less as you go down in down the group a little bit. Now I've also bought in these medium battle tank 70s. I assume MBT stands for medium battle tank. The reason I bought these in is because they've got these Shillag C guided armor piercing missiles. AP power is 16, but they've got a nice long range and they're not too expensive, so you could bring them in at the start of a game. And yeah, they're pretty decent, they're pretty fast, they can get to most places, they've got decent autonomy, and they've got a decent-ish main gun that you can use once you've used your 4 AP rounds. They can also shoot at helicopters at a fairly long range of 1,575, which is also units. That's also useful. That's a prototype tank. So nice selection of tanks. Haven't got any cheap tanks. Again, everything in my deck, in my USA deck, is expensive. Really good, but expensive. A dangerous game to play, you might think, but we'll give it a go. Reconnaissance. He's got these fantastic longbow. Again, really expensive units. These longbows, 150, but look what they've got. They've got these 16 long Hellfire missiles with a fantastic range and accuracy of 70%, so most of them are going to hit. Keep it safe. You've got 16 Hellfire missiles. You've got to get those guys off before you lose this thing. They can also got quite decent with these sort of miniguns against choppers and ground units, so you don't want to get too close to ground units with such an expensive aircraft. Now I've got the naval seals. These really are in twin Hueys, and these really are for going behind enemy lines in the twin Huey with the minigun. So yeah, they've got these interesting sort of grenade launchers, frag rounds they call them, 24 of those, so they should be able to suppress and kill infantry quite well, I would have thought, because they've got main guns and suppression rounds as well. Rangers in Hueys again. I've got these Rangers as my sort of frontline recon, and they can also go behind the lines. They're not as fast as the Navy SEALs. You can see the let's get the Rangers up, pin the Rangers. The Navy SEALs have got a speed of 30, whereas the Rangers are only 25. That does make a difference. So the Navy SEALs can move a lot faster in ground over the ground than the Rangers, but of course the Rangers are a bit cheaper, and they'll do for reconning the front lines. Next, vehicles. Not over impressed with the USA vehicles, and this is where I have got some cheap stuff. Now I've bought in these CEVs. Whether I'll use them a lot, I don't know. Autonomy is quite low. Well, it's not too bad now at 500, and they've got a strength of 10, which isn't too bad. If you can get these into position shooting at infantry, they're going to do really well, but it's just getting them into that initial position and moving them fast enough. The speed is the problem with these. 40 kilometers per hour is really, really slow across ground. Not road speed is okay, but 40 k's across ground is really slow, and often the battles are pretty much over by the time these guys get to them. So yeah, I doubt I'll use them too much, but I might try them as an experiment. Got some Zippos as well. Again, quite slow over ground, but if you do get them in position, they're really, really useful. But it's just getting these things into position to start with when trouble occurs. Now these lads I've got, and I've got a whole load of these. I've got 36. And this is the only sort of spammy thing I've got in the deck, so I might end up spamming these out at some point. maybe to finish a game, to attack a region or something like that, because they've got these Bushmaster autocannons with 420 rounds that fire really fast and can take down ground units and helicopters as well. So yeah, just for a bit of fun really, if needed. Helicopters, Americans of course have got a good range of choppers, and I think I've got, again, quite expensive ones. The cheapest one of the OHs. I've got some OHs just for mainly for the beginning of the game to send out if I'm doing an airborne assault on a region. They've got these nice Stinger missiles which are very effective, although some of the Red 4 countries have got some really effective anti-air choppers themselves now, which are better than these OHs, and will take out these OHs because of the ranges they've got. So just be a little bit more cautious now when doing airborne assaults with the Blue 4 decks. I've got these Super Cobras. These Super Cobras are really good. They can do a little bit of everything. They've got TOW2 missiles, and they've got anti-air missiles. Only 2, so they do run out quite quickly, but they can be very, very useful. And the Vulcan minigun, which can shoot down choppers and ground units as well. And then we've got the good old Apache with 8 Hellfire missiles. Remember, you've got your recon chopper, which is really effective as well. So you've got a lot of fantastic choppers, albeit very expensive ones in this deck. And you've got a rocket pod there as well, so it might come in useful. And finally we've got the aircraft, and I've got one of these guys, the Nighthawk. I really like the Nighthawks. Just a really nice aircraft, stealthy, it gets in and gets out. Do need to be careful there's not a lot of man pads and things around, because they can tend to shoot this thing down if you're not careful. But it's got a range of 3,500 and fire and forget missiles, so once it's fired it's away and clear. It's got okay speed. Generally this thing gets in and out as long as there's not too much anti-air around, and if it does hit infantry or light armor and stuff like that, it will destroy it completely. I've also got a Hornet. Trying this out, I haven't used this one before. So this has got some of these Maverick missiles with an AP power of 30. Again, I won't be sending this in anywhere. I think there's a lot of anti-air, but and I'll probably only send it in against like high point targets, big tanks like T90s, T80s, maybe T72s, or clusters of tanks in 4s. Because it is an expensive plane to lose. It's also got some anti-air capability as well, and can attack other ground units and helicopters also. And finally I've got the Raven, really nice looking aircraft. I was debating whether to get this in this particular deck, because I was going to use that like really targeted artillery for taking out anti-air, but I thought I'd bring this in anyway because it is the best seed aircraft, certainly in the Blue 4 deck and possibly in the game as well, with a really nice ECM of 60% and a very high speed of 1000 Ks and a good range of 5,250 with fire and forget missiles, 2 of them. So it's in, shoots its missiles and it's away. So really nice aircraft. So that's it for my USA deck. Really expensive stuff. I hope I can manage to bring some of these things in, even in short games, but I do tend to play longer games, so I should have a chance to bring most of this stuff in at some point. And I'll post a couple of games from this deck in the near future. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and please do comment, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.